we used to value purity.
Welcome back to the Really Real History Show. Why don't you give a big round of applause for our contest winner, Ernest T. Polyglot.
Hello. Hello.
Hey,
hello.
Ernest.
Lovely to be here. I sit right here then.
Yeah, that seems like a good spot.
Okay, lovely.
Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be here.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, my name is Ernest T. Polyglot. I am from East Sussex. Go fighting Sussexesians. I am 47 years old, and I am an accountant for the Sainsbury's grocery chain.
And what made you sign up to win our contest in the first place, man?
Yes, well, my wife is she's a fan of history in general, and particularly, she's quite fond of your podcast.
Oh, great.
So, with Valentine's Day approaching, I said to myself, perhaps my wife would enjoy if I were to win her this contest as sort of an heroic gesture, and then she could appear on the program that she loves so very dearly. So, much to my surprise, I called in, and in fact I won. But then, she left me for a lorry driver named Tim.
Wow. Sorry. You know, this might actually be your lucky day. Because this is not a Valentine's Day prize you've won.
Oh no.
It's a Lupercalia weekend.
Oh. Well, I'm quite unfamiliar with that, I'm afraid.
Lupercalia is what February 14th was before Valentine's Day. And it was a bit more of a free holiday. For free people. Do we have a clip? Do we have the audio on that? So it all starts about 3,000 years ago with these twin brothers, Remus and Romulus, who were young princes born of a virgin. Fearing that they would inherit the crown, their uncle tried to kill them by putting them in a basket and floating them down the Tiber River so that he could take the throne for himself. Luckily, they were rescued by a she-wolf named Lupercalia. She lived in a cave nearby. She took care of the brothers until the day a shepherd discovered them and took them home to be raised as goat farmers. When they grew up, the brothers decided to build a city where the she-wolf had found them. But they couldn't agree on exactly where that location was. So to solve their dispute, Romulus killed Remus. A simple and permanent solution. Romulus then went on to build the city where he thought it should be located. And he called this city Rome.
Oh, Rome.
Yeah, Rome.
Oh, yes, no, I know Rome.
Yeah, that Rome.
And after he built it, the people that lived there celebrated the founding once a year on February 14th
In a ceremony that they called Lupercalia.
Of course. I do have one small question, which is what precisely is Lupercalia?
Yes. Well, I'm glad you asked. To celebrate the wolf that raised their mythological founder, they would meet in the cave, sacrifice a goat, bathe in its blood, and then have a giant orgy.
The orgy bit's all right, I guess. Most of it sounds quite ghastly now.
Well, you have to think like a Roman. And blood kind of plays into the whole orgy bit for them, you know?
All right. Yes, no, I can see that. Please continue.
So in the ancient world, convincing the gods to give you success in life was a huge part of all of their traditions. If you were a farmer, you would make sacrifices to the gods to help your crops grow. If you were a soldier, you would make sacrifices to the gods to make you strong in battle. If you were a husband, you would make sacrifices to the gods to get your wife pregnant. But if your wife wasn't getting pregnant, that became a societal problem because having lots of children
was how the society was being grown at that point. This is the be fruitful and multiply portion of history, as I like to call it. You needed as many children as possible to work the fields more than anything else. And if you had 12 kids, you would hope that 6 or 7 survived into adulthood, and you needed all of them all the time as labor force. So continuously producing children was a huge part of any society's overall goals. And getting the gods to bestow fertility upon their society was the easiest way to accomplish their task from the way they looked at it. So, if you were going to get a wolf-based god to bestow fertility upon your society, you would need to bring that god the things that a wolf god would want. And what does a wolf want more than anything? Goats. Naturally. Okay? That just follows.
No,
That's
that makes
just
sense because my uncle has a goat farm, and it's regularly being attacked by wolves.
By
so
wolves.
that all of that tracks. Yes.
This follows. So these priests have been preparing this cave all year for Lupercalia on February 14th. This was their only job. They trained all year for this one day. The priests would dress entirely in wolf skins, would march around the cave counterclockwise. They would enter the cave at sunrise, where the virgin would be waiting. There's a goat that is pre-milked. The virgin is put in the center of the cave. The sacrificial knife is used to open the goat on top of her and just let the blood fall on the poor child. They use the goat's milk to wash away the blood. Then the virgin was lifted off the altar, brought to the mouth of the cave. All of the townspeople were waiting outside the cave. You've got a blood-milk mix on your virgin at this point, which is apparently sending the young men of the town into an absolute froth. So I'm not sure exactly on the A to B of this ceremony. The rule, from what I can tell, is if you touch it, you can fuck it. That seems to be the Lupercalian policy, if you will. Rule number 1.
Once the goat's blood and the goat's milk have been applied, then anyone who touches the non-virgin can then mate with that person. Is that correct?
With the non-virgin, that's a very important distinction.
Right. The virgin is off limits.
Correct.
You can't.
If you touch the virgin, she will no longer be a virgin, and you'll ruin the whole point of everything.
Right. So that's
my very important distinction.
That's what my wife told me for 6-7 years in our early days, and
sort of the same.
They used the entire goat for this ceremony. Even the goat's hide was used to make whips, and the men then whipped the women in town, and most of the women seemed to enjoy it, like some primitive Mardi Gras.
All the men of town would literally run at the first thing they saw. We like to think that that meant human women, but it apparently very, very much did not.
Well, that explains Tony Blair.
My thoughts exactly.
I'm sorry, I'm not usually political.
Now, I'm a little unclear on the logical A to B here, I'll admit. But somehow, this ritual had an unbelievable success rate. Like, the women that hadn't been pregnant all year, only fucking their husbands, all of a sudden, after the orgy, everybody would be pregnant. Like 9 months later, babies like clockwork.
It's interesting because my wife likes goat cheese, but I am infertile.
Apparently, this ceremony carried on for over 1,500 years. Later in Roman history, they started doing what I can only call Roman key parties for Lupercalia. I mean, there's stories of literally putting all the women in town's names into a box and everybody pulling a name. It sounds a lot like the 70s to me, to be honest. But yeah, Lupercalia was a giant goat's blood covered orgy.
Perfectly explains Boris Johnson.
That was my thoughts as well.
What the fuck? Who the fuck is Boris Johnson?
Oh, no. That's perfect.
The women in the orgy, they've all done this before.
I've never done the math on that, but I suppose most of them have, yes.
Right, so what if you just have the one position?
I mean, I think it should be adequate, Ernest.
Oh, thank
You
goodness.
really only need the one.
There's not a judging aspect, because
Oh, no.
I basically have just the one position, and it doesn't... To quote my wife, fulfill much of anyone's needs. So, I'm very open to the concept of an orgy-based religion. However, I would prefer there not to be a rating criteria involved.
And honestly, Ernest, I doubt you need more than 30, 45 minutes of Lupercalia tops.
I mean, I suspect you're not wrong.
See, the beauty of the orgy structure is that you don't actually have to be anyone's last partner.
Right. Oh, no, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Because I distinctly recall her saying to me, I do not want you to be my last partner. She was explicit in that statement. And it was quite painful, but when you put it in this context, it seems quite freeing.
Yeah.
Yes. And anyone other than the Virgin is fair game.
Exactly. And on the off chance that you are capable of getting one of them pregnant, you could stay with them.
Oh, I rather like it. I rather like it. Is this not... And I don't mean to get political, but is this not grossly against the Geneva Convention?
Ah, yes, this is very much pre-Geneva Convention ideology.
Right. Because I like it in theory, but the other half of my brain says, Ernest, you can't be going around whipping women with goat skin because of, the Geneva Convention and such.
Unless it's Lupercalia.
Ah, right. Ah, it's a free pass.
You couldn't just be going around Rome whipping women with your goat skins.
Right, like there would be serious repercussions.
On February 8th or February 22nd, that sort of behavior would not be tolerated. But what happens at Lupercalia stays at Lupercalia.
Ah, so it's like Wales.
Yes, exactly.
Well, I am in.
All right.
As long as we don't invite Tim. Fuck Tim.
That's, if I'm gonna join a cult, that's the one. That's all I'm saying.
Be sure to tune in next week for more really real history. Valentine's Day Part 2.
Beep 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 bzz, beep beep boop, beep 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 bzz, beep beep boop.